Welcome to the Fishbowl Radio, everybody. My name is Chief here, and joining me today is Juicy. We're going to be doing a kind of talking about Gerry Glasco heading to Texas Tech to take over head coaching duties over there, and who could be the potential candidates that will replace him at Louisiana. So, without further ado, let me introduce everybody to my co-host here, Juicy. How you doing today, Juicy?
What up? What up? I'm good, man.
All right, so what was your first reaction whenever you heard that he might have been taking the job at Texas Tech, UC? And do you think this is an upgrade for him, or you think this is kind of a step back?
Well, we had talked about it earlier, a little while earlier before the broadcast. I mean, it was kind of you had mentioned it kind of was a out of left field, honestly, like you had said, and I agree because honestly, I don't really think anybody took it seriously or thought anything of it. And then next thing you know, I'm scrolling on Facebook and I see that he all of a sudden just up and left. So I mean, is if it's a upgrade, I mean, it's hard to say. No, though. I mean, nobody really knows the. Like you said, we won't know the full details until like the contract negotiations and see what happens. But from what I'm understanding, allegedly, I don't think. I think you have an insight, or you have some insight that it might not be any more of a pay raise than for him than what he's making now. But I guess we'll see. But if that's the case, then no, I really don't think it's a necessarily a step up for him. I mean, if he does well enough, though, he could. He's in a better conference to maybe. I mean, recruit better, but that's you can't really even say that because I mean it's pretty equal playing field across the board now.
I'm thinking that so some players that there's gonna be some players that's gonna transfer with him. That's usually how it is in this NIL transfer portal environment. And it's he's gonna that roster is going to get better, okay? With whoever he takes from Louisiana, it's going to become better because it would be impossible for the Cajuns to keep all these players on their roster anyway. One player that I think that will probably end up going to Texas Tech with Gerry Glasgow will probably be Sam Landry because I think their relationship they have together is a very, father daughter kind of bond that they have. You can watch them pregame; they're hanging out like almost constantly for the game here. So look, I expect her to hit the transfer portal. As far as the other ones here, it's going to be kind of an interesting one to say and see what's going on here. So, um, Brooke Elstad, on Twitter just about an hour or two ago, posted some Bible quotes on there. She's, getting into her senior year at UL, and she might end up making that jump as well. But will she stay? Will she go? I wouldn't really read too much into it if you're looking at, like, like to try to see who's gonna jump ship, right? Like, so what she had put on Twitter was, "Rejoice in hope, be patient in tribulation, be constant in prayer," which is a quote from the Bible, Romans 12:12. So uh it's gonna be a very interesting one. So looking at that there, was it a personal issue with Glasgow why he left? A couple of years ago, his daughter tragically passed away in a car accident on I-10, and did he want to try to get away from that? Which I think he would have left sooner if that would have been the case. I don't really buy that. What some people were saying online about it, maybe him getting away from it personally. About I don't really buy that. I think it was just a good opportunity for him to, go to a quote unquote. I know I don't like to use the term Power Four in college softball conference, but that might be what he wants here. Now, some pros of this move for him personally and professionally speaking would be he don't have to deal with Oklahoma and Texas. It was
That is
probably a
true.
strategic move. Oklahoma and Texas moving to the SEC. So you take the top two teams that were playing for a national championship in Oklahoma City this year, they're out of the equation. You ain't got to deal with them in conference. You have Baylor in there, who's a regional team that you got to deal with, and they got a slew of other teams that's going to join them there. So it's really tough to say if it's really a better move. I don't think it really is. I think it's a step back because Texas Tech softball has been kind of toward the bottom of the barrel. I mean, it's been that kind of way. And as far as like comparing, Glasgow to his predecessors at Louisiana, he kind of underachieved. If you look at, Michael Ot and, Yvette Gerard and the ones that came before him, they made it to the Women's College World Series. They played in those games. Gerry Glasco did not make it to the Women's College World Series a single season at UL. The closest he got was not this past season, but in 23, whenever he went to the Super Regional against Washington. That was the furthest they ever advanced. Now, granted, it's not a knock on, well, if you want to knock on the resume, I would say that would be his biggest, like, uh, hit against me. Never made it there. And it's been
Mm-hmm.
10 years since the Cajuns have done so. So, in that regard, I think he's underachieved as far as postseason success goes. Regular season, they're still a Sun Belt dynasty. I think whoever they decide to hire will continue to put them at a Sun Belt dynasty level because players know that Louisiana's got probably one of the nicest facilities in all of college softball at Lansing Park. So it's going to attract players to want to come play there. And, they've been a, standout program regionally and super regional play for a long period of time. So some names that have been thrown out for um, coaching jobs are Allison Havsnet, the former UL player. She was a former Ragin Cajun who she retired after 25 years as Alabama's assistant coach last summer for family reasons. She helped former UL assistant Patrick Murphy to 14 World Series trips with the Crimson Tide, and as well as 11 SEC championships. So she could potentially get out of retirement if she feels the need to do so. She is by
She's a
far
good
my front runner.
candidate.
She's my front runner. I think she should be the one that first call I'm making. I'm calling her because I think she is the best one for the job. Her accolades speak for themselves
You
here.
said she's the Alabama assistant head coach. You said
Yeah, she was. She retired. And then you got Rick Furman, Southeastern's head coach. Freeman, I guess you would say it like that. I'm not too good with
I
names.
was about to mention him next.
Uh, so you know, he seems to do a lot with a little, right? So he led Southeastern to their first NCAA regional appearance. They defeated Clemson twice in the Tuscaloosa regional, but they ended up losing Alabama in the regional finals. So he's from Bell Chase. He's had a 298, 181 career in Southeastern. Some that are kind of, I would say this one's kind of meh for me. James Landreneau, McNeese's head coach. Um, Landreneau's 278, 161 in his 12 seasons as McNeese's head coach there. So in 2022, he led McNeese to the first NCAA regional final in Northwest before duplicating that feat at Washington a year later. So, and then we had the Washington meltdown for McNeese, which they let them come back in there. Howard Dobson, LSU assistant head coach there. He graduated from McNeese in
Hmm.
1997. He previously worked at staffs on Houston and Oklahoma. He was a head coach for Southern Miss, but he didn't really have a great record at Southern Miss. In 4 seasons, he compiled 93 wins to 128 losses. Mark Montgomery's another one on the list here, former Louisiana Tech head coach there. He was a head coach at Sanitary College from 2003 to 2010. He's from Kentucky, and he coached Louisiana Tech from 2013 to 2019. He was most recently head coach at Maryland, where he resigned after 2023 for personal reasons. After a two losing season with the Terrapins, he enjoyed a 29 and 23 third season and a 38-19 record in 2023 with wins over Oklahoma State and Oregon. The 38 wins were the most at Maryland in 12 seasons. Mike Roberts, a former UL pitching coach for 2 seasons under Glasgow. He served as a pitching coach at Oregon, Washington, and Virginia. He was a head coach for 1 season at Buffalo in 2018. So there's a list that the Advocate had provided, which I had seen, like the one I mentioned a lot on social media. Allison I cannot talk tonight. Habits.
Kind of a hard name to say.
Yeah, but I think her accolades speak for themselves. She knows that situation in Women's College World Series. She knows it is to be in that kind of environment. And I would think it'd be a very good thing for the Cajuns to do. I think that'd be my first call if I was gonna make a call on this. What do you think, Juicy, out of those names that was mentioned in the Advocate article? Which one are you looking most forward to if you're making the phone? If you're Brian Maggard, Dr. Brian Maggard, you're on the phone. Who you calling first?
I have to agree with you. The first one would be the same her whatever her Allison I'm even gonna try to say her last name, but she'd be the first one. And then the second one I think would be Southeastern's coach. That would be my top two right there.
I think Mike Roberts would probably be my third, honestly, on that list. If I had to go with a third option, familiarity with the program, that kind of thing. You could almost like what the culture is like. You could blend in with it, and the players know you. You were there for 2 seasons for sure. So there's gonna have some players gonna know you. It's just a matter of like waiting. Now, the problem with this is the transfer portal window has opened up. The 30 days once a coach leaves opens up for the transfer portal. So you might have a mass exodus if the players leave. Now, how many will that be? I think it will depend on the hire. And I think Dr. Maggard's gonna have to he's gonna move this. He's gonna move quick. Whoever he picks, he needs to have them hired by the end of a 5 day work day period, because these kids are probably already getting like they're talking to everybody. They're talking with each other. They're trying to figure out what they want to do. These young ladies, they're trying to figure out, all right, what's the best place for me for my career to progress further. And in my opinion, I think it would really depend. If I was a freshman, I loved Gerry Glasco, I would probably go meet him. If I was because I want to spend the rest of my 4 years there. And you're early enough in your college days where you can make these moves. Now, if I'm a junior or senior, I just might as well finish it out. If I'm a starter, I wouldn't go jump ship. Now, granted, of course, it's not my decision because transferring credits to colleges can be kind of tricky. Gotta see how your classes line up to make sure you ain't really wasting your time with degree credits and stuff like that. So, but some of these
Mm-hmm.
athletes, they're not really worried about that too much. They're worried about NIL money. So will NIL money make them go for it? I do remember, I think Glasgow had made this comment a couple of years ago that he needed 500,000 NIL funded money for the softball program to keep up with the top 25 programs. But like I alluded to, in other sports like football, basketball, and these other ones here, there's a separation that is happening right before our eyes. Now, granted, I've been saying this for last couple of years, and I firmly believe this is my theory that I thought of, because they teased this in the mid 2000s. They were talking about it. Now it's kind of coming into play here, so to speak, that this separation of these top 50 to top 60 programs, right? break away from everybody else and they have their own little thing here. Now, granted, baseball and softball might not be big enough sports to support this idea with the cash flow they got, but football and basketball, that's definitely in play as we can see here. So that's something that I'm trying to think that is maybe kind of, driving this. This NIL is a monster and the transfer portal is even a bigger monster. I'm not so, upset with NIL money, but there's gonna be some workaround somewhere, I think. But it, it, I don't know who's all gonna leave. That's the thing here. So, um, like there's position battles that are gonna need to be done. Lauren Alred was out for a whole season, basically. Got hurt early on. She's a first
Mm-hmm.
baseman. Sam Rowe played very well in her place whenever she was out during the season. So that's one of many position battles you're gonna have here. So if there was a couple that I wouldn't want the Cajuns to lose, Alexa Langeliers. She's a great hitter, a very powerful hitter. Um, Lainey Crater, very good in DH spot. You know, big bat. She can definitely swing it. Maya Davis, playmaker out there in center field, making spectacular plays for the Cajuns. This whole lineup, I wouldn't want to lose. Um, but yeah, I see. The one that sticks out to me that that I think would move on would be Sam Landry. What you think, Juicy?
Yeah, Sam Landry, like you said, she has a good relationship with Gerry Glasco. I wouldn't be surprised if she actually went and followed him over there. But and like you said, the freshman. I mean, hopefully the freshman that he recruited probably follow him usually as most they do. Kind of reiterate what you said, but I mean the others. I mean, we'll just wait and see. I mean, usually you have, as I say, like I call it a mass exodus when a new coach comes in any sport, really. But maybe it won't happen. We hope it don't happen because you don't have to try to build up too much. But we'll just see what happens.
So the thing I'm thinking about here is, and I think this is gonna be a question, and if I was a parent, I would ask my kid if they were going to make this decision about where would you want to go? Like if you're thinking about transferring, what you plan on doing? So what I would ask them is, Glasgow is he's in his upper I think he's got 3 years till he turns 70. Actually, let me go check that real quick here because I think he's in his late 60s, honestly. Let's see. Um, Not a lot of like coaching career left, if I do say so here. 65. Okay, so he's 65, born in 1958. So I was trying to age him a little bit, but still, he's 5 years away from being he looks great for his age though, by the way. Um 5 years till he turns, 70. Like how much longer does he have left in the tank? I think that's one thing I would ask these players. Like, do you think he's gonna be around for the rest of your career if you're a freshman even trying to think about transferring? That's something that we can look at here and kind of debate here. Now, granted, how much more you have left? Because coaching, like you, for example, Nick Saban. Nick Saban's kind of one that I could, that is a high profile guy, and he talked about the strains of being a coach and just, having to think of all these things and the pursuit of perfection that a lot of these coaches go through. It's very taxing on your mind and your body. Now, granted, it's very mental. You got a lot of like pressure on you from the outside and, people talking about you constantly, you're constantly in the news or whatever. And, trying to make the right moves and, people second guessing your decisions constantly. And especially during the season, whenever you like maybe send somebody home, like that was supposed to be going home, like, oh well they could have held them up on third or whatever. But look, just like little things like that, it adds up after a while. A lot of that pressure will end up getting to you at some point. I mean, we're all human. That's the way it gets. But um, looking at it from this point of view, I think it's kind of hard to say who I think it is. But the pressure, who I think is going to be end up jumping in the portal, I really don't know. It's going to depend on that coaching hire. I'm gonna tell you that right now. What you think, Juice? You think you how many more years you think Glasgow has left in him?
Oh man, I'll give him his age. I'd have to give him. I wouldn't say any more than 7 or 8 years. 10 would really be pushing it to me.
Yeah, I was gonna say five. I because in your do you really want to be coaching in your 70s? I mean, like they love this game. Some of them guys they love this game. Maybe he wanted to. Now I've heard that it was like the same amount of money that he was offered at Texas Tech, but Texas Tech got to do a buyout. So I think Glasgow's salary is around 150K a year at UL, and he would just resigned in August of 2023, and that was going to push him through 28. So he got through this one season. So that's 25, 26, 27, and through the 28th season. So that's 4 seasons where they had to pay like to buy him out. There's a certain percentage that I'm pretty sure that's written in these contracts that you have to hit here. So regardless of what that percentage is, sometimes you got to pay out the whole entire thing. I don't know how his contract was written. I don't know the exact wording of it, but there's usually a percentage that you have to meet, whether it's you got to pay back 20% of if you forfeit before certain date of whatever is. Like if you look at like let's say if I signed a contract today to become UO's next UO softball coach, and they're like, Chief, if you resign before August 26th of 2027, you owe us 100 grand. But if you resign after the next day, it drops to 50,000. It might have something like that written in there where he just waited it out to where it was, June 20th, where he had to make a decision, and that was what happened there. So, like, Texas Tech, they were just at the right place at the right time. They kind of been at the bottom of this Big 12, but I think the reason why he went for it was the Big 12 is kind of wide open this year. I mean next year. That's gonna be who's really gonna be the one that's really gonna step. Oklahoma State's always been a pretty good softball program. Baylor's been a good softball program.
But Oklahoma
It's gonna
and Texas leave it.
Yeah, so that's gonna open up some room there. Like you got two big powerhouses moving to the SEC, and it's gonna definitely open up some space there. So that's what I'm thinking, and that's all I really got to say on this like topic here. Anything you want to add, Juice, before we get off here?
No, I think that's it, man. I think that's pretty much the gist of it.
All right. Well, thank y'all for tuning into this episode here at the Fishbowl Radio. Like and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, or Threads. We're everywhere, basically, on social media. So thank y'all for tuning in. Hope you have a great, wonderful day. We'll see you here next time on the Fishbowl Radio.
Good night, Fishbowl.